So before looking this up, I actually didn't know what stitch incoming meant. I just saw like it was always on a video where someone was going to pop on and criticize something or be annoying. Um, but it actually means it's a video inside a video. So this is actually going to be a video inside a video inside a video. So it's going to be a double stitch.
I thought it was with a laceration when someone cuts themselves as they talk. You're going to stitch it up for them and fix it.
A stitch in time saves 9. So hopefully someone makes a response to our response as well till we get to 9.
Yeah, hopefully not. That would be very
Maybe
confusing.
this will be the last stitch.
Yeah, this is going to be interesting, though, because this is Dr. Gabrielle Lyon, a friend and an excellent physician. She talks a lot about, the importance of diet, exercise, especially resistance training and protein, especially when you lose weight. So, a lot of what she says can be taken out of context. Nobody's perfect, including us, but I'm interested to see how Dr. Nadolski thinks that she is going to lacerate herself so he can stitch it up.
GLP-1s, if you are not stimulating muscle, you will accelerate aging by 20 years. We've never...
Accelerate aging by 20 years if you don't stimulate muscle while you're on a GLP-1.
I suppose you could say that
It's
even if you're not on a GLP-1.
Completely made up. There's no data you can put together to say that you're accelerating aging by 20 years. It depends on your definition. So, I guess if you go on a GLP-1 at age 59 and then you die of pancreatitis and you were going to die at 79, then you've accelerated aging.
That would be the case.
By 20 years.
Yeah, I think what she means here, and she's obviously giving a talk, so I don't want to take too much out of context, but what I think she means is if you have someone who is already sarcopenic and borderline osteopenic or even with osteoporosis, and they are basically abusing a GLP-1, like a lot of fitness influencers out there that say it has no downsides and the positives always outweigh the detriment, then yeah, you can certainly do a lot of harm by over suppressing your appetite and causing muscle wasting. But nobody would ever want to prescribe it in order to hurt a patient that way. That's just fitness influencers using it like steroids. So
this would have to be all people getting it from research chemical sites because no healthcare provider would intentionally harm a patient.
Yeah, your average fake natty fitness influencer that just wants to be a little bit more shredded, getting it from a research chemical website, then yeah, they are likely accelerating their muscle to where it looks like they're older. Because if you look at a lot of 80-year-olds and 90-year-olds, most of them are sarcopenic. That being said,
but your fitness influencer is stimulating the muscle.
Yeah. If you look at a diabetic, then I would argue even if a diabetic does not exercise whatsoever, they're actually improving their aging because they're likely to live longer if they're on a GLP-1.
Yeah, that's the tough thing about, I suppose, giving a talk like this is you have a very broad audience and they, may not be interested in hearing 3 different niche scenarios that need different answers to the same question.
She's probably talking to biohackers that want to live to age 200 and have the best age clocks. She's probably not talking to diabetics.
They want to hear things like accelerate aging or decelerate aging, perhaps.
Yeah. What they want to hear is, I don't have to exercise because it hurts my muscles, and I want to take GLP-1 for my brain health as an excuse to be a little bit more shredded. So for that population, I could see that. And this says stitch from endocrinologist incoming. So I'm just bracing for all the information that he discusses about diabetics that cannot be attributed to the general population.
Never had the opportunity and or have something as nearly effective as these GLP-1s. Whether they stay or whether they go, the destruction of skeletal muscle we have never seen in youth because we've never had the ability to restrict calories in a way that we can now.
This is actually an interesting question. I don't think it's necessarily proven yet. It's a hypothesis, right? We actually don't know what the effect of these skeletal muscle on kids are. Because, pediatric approval, I don't think they looked at body composition in that study data. But it's an interesting question. Are kids more or less resilient to the muscle wasting? I would argue they're probably more resilient.
Better growth hormone output.
Yeah. And the kids, they're probably going to be baseline more active than the average American adult. So they're going to get some muscle stimulus. Now, if they're not in PE classes have obviously scaled way back. They're nothing like they used to be. And if it's a, kid that just plays video games or is on the iPad all day, those sorts of things, then yeah, that could be a real concern, is now you're setting someone up to be more frail and accumulate less bone mineral density in adulthood. And it depends on the degree of obesity they have, whether that makes sense. If, they're not going to have a change in their diet because of the environment they're in, you're trying to figure out what's the least bad thing to do.
Yeah. And this could be an interesting discussion in pediatric patients that still have not finished growing. Perhaps semaglutide, or in the future, retatrutide will be better options than tirzepatide because of a better growth hormone secretagogue effect to lead to, continued bone growth despite being in a fat loss phase.
So if any of you are using these ages, you must be protecting muscle.
All right, first of all, yes, everybody needs to be doing strength training and optimizing enough protein to gain or at least maintain muscle mass, especially if you have obesity and obesity-related diseases like type 2 diabetes. But these medications have been researched since the 80s. They've been approved since 2005 with some more recent, more potent medications and more weight loss. And the whole thing about losing muscle mass came from a small little subset of one study where they looked at some body composition, which is not perfect.
So to my knowledge, there's now multiple studies, 2 or 3 that I personally can think of that do show there's this lean mass loss. But I would say more than half of those show that it's not more than you would expect from, the same degree of caloric restriction and the same degree of inactivity, which most people are going to have.
The key here is the amount of caloric restriction and appetite suppression.
And he's talking about clinical trials where patients with specific health conditions are enrolled. So this is patients with obesity, patients with type 2 diabetes, not someone who just wants to lose
healthy biohackers that want to go from
pounds.
12% body fat to 8% body fat. Yeah, so he has to remember the audience, but another point is he's making this claim that there's a preponderance of studies for many decades that have shown no muscle loss. Most of those studies don't even study muscle loss. And our friend Grant Tinsley commented and he's friends with the Nadolskis, which is okay. He can be friends with other doctors that are almost as fit as me. But he said, we need to study this more with MRI studies and with other sorts of body composition studies too. But when you study it, you're not going to be doing harm to patients on purpose. So if you're studying microdosing GLP-1s or taking relatively low doses in healthy people, then you're not going to see any extra muscle loss. If anything, with the extra growth hormone secretion, because it's a growth hormone secretagogue, maybe you'll see a tiny bit of muscle gain compared to a placebo group. And if you're going to study it in, again, diabetics and people with morbid obesity, then yes, you do have to use the high doses, like the maximum doses of GLP-1s. But in those individuals, the benefit is going to outweigh the downside.
Yeah, you're never going to get a review board approval for giving it to mothers who just want to lose 10 pounds for their daughter's wedding. That's not going to make it through the review process.
Can I not study that?
That they... Yeah,
because this is but in all seriousness, a lot of people that want to do that is the crowd that Dr. Lyon is often speaking to.
Yeah, that's fair.
And people extrapolated a little bit more lean mass than what was expected to be lost to muscle mass. And so, yes, we want everyone to do their exercises to maintain or gain muscle mass. But even if that were the case, which is not really true, then we can look at the health outcomes of these studies. And very consistently over all these years, people have improved diabetes. They have cardiovascular outcome reduction. So it's good for the heart, good for the kidneys, good for the liver, reduces sleep apnea issues. and people have improved quality of life and physical function. So actually, as their weight...
People. He didn't say diabetics. He said people.
Yeah, there's actually specifically, we talked about this study in sarcopenic older adults. They used the SARM, added it to the GLP-1, and even in the group that was on SARMs and taking a GLP-1, they had a reduction in their physical ability, not an improvement.
Correct.
So it depends on the group you're talking about. So yes, some people
Yep.
will see improvements in physical function, but not everyone.
We'll post that study. I think it was 150 individuals who are older, and how even with a SARM, which was protective against muscle loss, they still lost some physical function.
Yeah, think about half of them got worse at their stair climbing ability, which is a big deal if you're an older adult, you have stairs in your home.
Part of what upsets me with this clip, and it is a short clip, so I don't want to talk, too negatively about Dr. Nadolski's statement, is he says people have all of these things that happen that are good: cognitive outcomes, hepatic health, cardiovascular health. Well, then why shouldn't I take it? Why shouldn't we prescribe this to every man, woman, and child if people have these good outcomes? The studies that he's referring to are either going to be on patients that are obese, usually with comorbidities, or patients with diabetes.
Yeah, or the patients with combination of things, right? Sleep apnea and obesity. He's talking about some very recent trial data after he says, we've looked at these things since 2005. I don't think he's necessarily intentionally trying to be misleading, but he's listing off benefits that are just very recently discovered.
Yeah, but he has to know that Dr. Lyon is talking to people who are not purely obese individuals and diabetics. It's a bit, he's kind of making it seem like a straw man argument in her case. It's a different set of individuals. That being said, that shows the importance of individualized medicine. So a good opportunity for us to plug the fact that you have to take each individual into account, and whether it is cardiovascular disease, whether it is their body composition, whether it's their hormonal status, then you need to assess the benefits and downsides of that person's regimen.
Weight comes down, their physical activity is going up, which is good. So in the grand scheme of things, they are good no matter what, and we don't need to scaremonger.
They're good no matter what.
Unless they're not.
Yeah. Cameron, go ahead and put up that study showing pancreatitis in a long-term user that led to death. There was a story about someone trying to lose weight for a wedding, permanent gastroparesis. So I don't think you can say always good no matter what. That's a bit of a extreme stance. And maybe he did this specifically.
Maybe it's hyperbole.
So that we would make a response video.
Clip. Yeah. Anyways, we will continue to talk about the good and the bad of GLP-1s, just like every other intervention. 4 or 5 years ago, I believe us and More Plates, More Dates, Derek with Merrick, we were one of the very first clinics to widely use GLP-1s other than for diabetes, and talk about the downsides as well outside of prescribing. They've had Saxenda, which is liraglutide, for quite some time, but we were one of the first to popularize it when it's more accessible to the population and talk about it. Derek made many YouTube videos about it. And back then, I remember people saying, well, no, you don't want to do this and that. And we talked about it and said, yeah, there's some merit to this. And you do have to watch the rebound weight gain after you get off. And now it seems like the pendulum has completely swung to where people are just pushing this because them or someone they know, maybe they make extra money off of it, or there's some incentive, or they've just become dogmatic because they're seen as an expert now and they can't change their mind. So I don't think we've necessarily changed our mind, but in the last half decade, we've certainly learned a lot more about GLP-1s and body composition.
Yeah, I would argue we've learned a lot more about the positives and the negatives.
Yeah, so with that, let us know what you think of this clip. Let us know if you agree or disagree with us or Dr. Lyon or Dr. Nadolski, and let us know your experience with GLP-1s, good, bad, or ugly.